And the next voice you hear after this little bit of music will be that of SOTU. Thank you, Josh. Here we go.
All righty. Well, let's see if we can't scramble Adrian's brain today. Good morning, Adrian. And how are you, dear one? We notice we don't have any calls, which means it's just you and us, kid.
So it seems.
All right. So you had some questions or clarifications you would like to have discussed around this whole dynamic of what? You're the wild card? If you understand and you notice that being the dynamic of the wild card, we began to go into an explanation of, what shall we say, a certain envy that is experienced by certain other sentient beings in the universe that are curious about the strange and wonderful abilities that each of you has and that you have as a collective species in order to be able to manifest out of thin air. And all of this dynamic of all of these things that are going on in your world are intended to distract you from that knowledge, keep you from having that dynamic of knowledge, because therefore then you would move into your own levels of empowerment and you would achieve your own levels of manifestation around things that you consider very, what shall we say, godlike. And those that are treating themselves as gods and trying to put them forth as themselves forth as godlike figures are going to be proven to be, what shall we say, much less powerful and much less compassionate and much less understanding than you all are.
Well, as a human, I'd like to say, oh, pshaw, really? That's not us, really? That's us.
Well,
we have the ability to manifest.
You have that ability, but you don't have the maturity. And you have not taken on the responsibility yet. And so what is occurring right now is energetically all pushing you toward that dynamic of growing up, of maturity. And again, so many of you that we talk to, so many of you out there in the ethers, out there in the world, have and are on this path and have been on this path, many of you, for quite some time. And so you know of what we speak. And the rest of you are beginning to awaken to the fact that you are much more empowered, much more powerful than you believe yourselves to be. Now, if you really wish to discover your powers, all you have to do is look at those things that those others are trying to keep you from doing, are trying to keep you from being. One of the things they're trying to do right now is keeping you from coming together in groups.
Well, that's certain.
Because as you come together in groups, you begin to allow for a dynamic of collective manifestation.
Which is easier? Collective manifestation as opposed to a singular person manifesting. It's easier in a group.
Oh, well, it certainly is in certain circumstances. Not for the individual dynamic, but for the collective dynamic, that is true.
All right. So clearly, yes, we're being kept from coming together in groups. First, it was by the virus, and it still continues to be by the virus.
But again, it's that dynamic of that separation. Now, so many that we talk to are uniquely positioned to be able to handle that dynamic of solitude. And yet we would suggest to you that the great mass of people in your world are not. In other words, for example, you in the channel have no problem with this dynamic because basically you're homebodies anyway, right? But there's so many people that are not homebodies. And these are the people that are having more difficulties. Again, there's many things that we can point out that are detrimental in this sort of way, but there's also the dynamic of the positive side of it, because with each dynamic of discomfort that you are each feeling, it motivates you to move. It motivates you to begin to change things. Now, from our perspective, it's just as easy to motivate yourself through the positive than it is through the negative, but the problem is that if it's positive, most of you don't listen.
It just doesn't catch our attention. We don't believe it.
It just, you think it's a gift of the gods or something rather than taking responsibility for things. You give up your power so often. You allow your reality so often.
So if we didn't have an underwriting belief, many of us, in our unconscious and original sin, would we choose a more positive way to motivate ourselves?
Well, there wasn't always an original sin,